Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk animated shows and movies here, especially Miraculous Ladybug and The Owl House. Find everything about us at overlyanimated.com. I'm your host, Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Michelle Anderer.
Hello.
And my other co-host, Dirt, aka Alex Bonilla.
What?
No, you're supposed to go, hello. That's what you're supposed to do.
That is weird.
That's such a specific joke to
I know.
It's
That's
it's a good,
JP's
yeah.
vibe, though, so.
Yeah, there's a specific poll that I rewatched. Yeah. JP says co-host in the episode.
He does, I know.
Am I the JP of this crew?
Yes.
No.
Yes. Yeah, the Creek. Oh, yeah, that's us. We're the Creek crew's
Oh my
back.
God. Oh my god. How can we decide this after, 4 years?
Yeah, I don't know if we took
coverage.
Somehow this topic has never come up, I don't think
so. But no, I was going to say, regardless of assigning people roles, I was going to say we're back talking Craig, the three of us. I looked back, it's been pretty consistent. Three of us have talked about Craig since the show came out, so very exciting to once again talk Craig of the Creek. It's been a minute, but you can find our previous Craig podcasts at overlyanimated.com. Season 4 has just premiered of the show, so we are I think there are 2 episodes before this that came out for specific time periods, but other than that, there were recently 8 episodes. Find those ones in the podcast description, what we're talking about, from Beyond the Overpass to Fire and Ice. That's what we're specifically going to focus on, including especially Fire and Ice. But we also are going to talk about season 4 in general, look back on season 3 since we didn't extensively cover it, and also talk about big Craig news recently that came out on season 5 and a movie, which are coming up. So going to get into all of that on this podcast. Let's start things off here by getting into these 8 episodes that we mentioned in general. What are you thinking about season 4 so far, Michelle?
So far, I honestly, I've thought about this because I want to give season 4 props because I think this is some of the most funny and the most on of a slew of episodes I've seen in a while. And I've even noticed sometimes expressions are getting even more dramatic, or you're just getting these amazing jokes on top of jokes that are just really landing. And it's so exciting to have a show that's been around for a bit now still surprise you with delight and just joy the way that Craig of the Creek has. And I say honestly, season 4 started really, really strong. Nice.
Really. Yeah, really, really strong. Delight. Wow, this is a rave review.
We even have arc. There's this Heart of the Force thing. It's gonna be a whole arc. We didn't do big arcs like this in season 1, season 2. What is this?
Yeah.
This is crazy. But here we are, and it feels right that we're here at this point in the show too.
It's interesting. Well, yeah, let's get back to the Heart of the Forest very, very soon after this. The kind of new big plot of season 4. Alex, what's your thoughts on season 4 so far?
I mean, I pretty much agree with Michelle that I feel like every podcast that we talk about Craig of the Creek, we meant it's consistent and consistently good, and it keeps on that path. But at the same time, you do sense a little bit of a different tone to things, where they are going to cartoonier reactions a lot more often. They're breaking the fourth wall a little more often. It's it feels a little looser in that way, but also at the same time, we're still having the emotional foundation that makes Craig of the Creek always a wholesome experience to watch. The fact that with the end of season 3, right, you wrap up that story and you're opening up a whole new setting. Immediately this season, we are using that to our advantage. We're catching up with characters that we knew, but from a different perspective. We're getting totally new characters again. We had our established Creek crew for a while, so having totally new characters again, and from all different backgrounds, it's nice to have the fresh blood again in that sense. And yeah, there's just a lot of funny moments and a lot of sweet moments in this batch of episodes. So I'm always impressed whenever there's a new group of Craig of the Creek episodes, and this is no different. There's a lot of stuff that I want to gush about in this batch, so I'm excited to dig into a couple of episodes in particular here.
Nice. Yeah, I agree. Craig is a delight. I agree. That should be the tagline that should be the number one adjective for Craig. And consistent. We talk about that. I thought season 3 of Craig, we didn't talk about it too much. I thought that was incredible. Season 3. The show's gotten better. I thought that season, it's hard to look at Craig in seasons because they're just so long. It's like 40 episodes.
Sure.
It's a nice problem to have.
Yeah. But the 40 episodes preceding these were pretty fantastic, incredibly consistent, a lot of great episodes. Season 4, I think, continues that high quality so far. All of these 8 episodes that we just got, which is why we're talking about those 8. They dropped Cartoon Network aired them one after another, interestingly, in a 2-hour block on one Monday. By the way, Cartoon Network continues to air them on TV first and then put them online after. So it's a change from recent things. Pretty interesting compared to other networks. But I thought all these 8 episodes, all of them great. These are all good. I didn't dislike or was even meh on any of them. I think there's ones in particular which we'll get to soon that I particularly really liked, but really high quality. I like the approach that we're doing. I think it's really interesting because, as we've alluded to, I think before this podcast, Craig kind of resets all of its big, quote unquote, big plot stuff going on at the end of last season with Capture the Flag. So it's the big question is, how is the show going to handle plot now, or will it have as much plot? And so I think that's kind of the first question we want to tackle here is we quickly find out in Beyond the Overpass, which I think is, basically supposed to be the season premiere, even if we had some holiday episodes before it. We get some big developments. We have Omar, a green poncho, joining the Stump Kids, which we'll get to. And then we have a new main plot line potentially for the show in finding the heart of the forest, and all of the first King Kenneth's cubes. And so they're going to be collecting these cubes. And in general, it's the other side of the creek is a part of the creek now, right? I think that's, and Craig might be mapping the other side too. Michelle, what was your reaction hearing about this kind of new direction for the first time?
I didn't expect it, but I'm really happy. It does make me wonder because we spent, I feel at least 2 solid seasons hinting at the historical Capture the Flag war and how it broke up the sides of the creek, and it was this huge force that everything that came after it has ties to. And now it seems we're in this territory where maybe we're returning to what the creek used to be in a way, but it's it's Craig's turn and it's the crew's turn to figure out what the future is going to be. I feel it's a nice balance of exploring, but also, I guess I'd assumed before this season started that there would be more conflict between the sides, right? Because it's they spent so much time being kind of separated from each other. But all in all, I feel the passing of the guard has been really okay, and everyone's kind of finding a new way to coexist. And that's really interesting to me. It hasn't been seamless. We'll talk about Aggie the Squashinator. There are still some folks who are not adjusting well to this new regime. But as a whole, I've been pretty surprised by how easy this transition seems to have been for most of the other kids on the creek too.
Yeah, that's a good point. That pretty quickly, once the king is gone and the ruling order of the other side, everyone's chill for the most part here, which is nice to see coming off of such a conflict-heavy Capture the Flag right before this. Alex, what do you think of the direction so far?
Yeah, eliminating a dictatorship, and no one's taken advantage of the power vacuum yet.
No one's trying to be the new king.
Is that going to be a surprise plotline?
Well,
I mean,
think- 'cause
Craig was already talking
yeah.
about it, right?
he gave up the opportunity. It seems like there's no logical place for someone else to step in. So Craig just kind of dismantled the system on his own, I guess, by not accepting it.
Yeah, and I guess we're dealing with that in a way, and with all of the what are they called? Not the generals, but whoever we get 2 episodes like that, so we're kind of dealing with the other higher ups to some extent. But yeah, go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, I think it's smart to not, given the capture the flag thing. It was set up for a decent amount of that season 3. So like now that that's wrapped up, having a new like quest to stretch the season, I think is a smart idea, and it gives like an in universe reason to be exploring the new parts of the creek that we haven't seen yet. I was just thinking about the fact, like the poster or the promo image for season 4, like that was back in like July or something, where like they showed that bots with the floating above the creek. It's like, what is this? So like finally having that like half a year later, if that felt nice to finally see that in the actual show. And I think that there's like two squares that we've picked up in this first batch already.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not every episode, but it's at least consistently around. I think that's a right balance to hit. Like it doesn't need to like overshadow everything, but it'll be a through line. Like I think that's a right way to go with this kind of thing.
Yeah. What I really like about this new plot direction is that it's like a exploration / adventure mechanic. Like that's what we're focusing on, because
instead of the conflict.
Yes,
which I think
exactly.
Is a very good idea.
Right. It's like we talked kind of extensively in the past on this podcast about the disparity in the other side of the Creek episodes versus the normal Craig episodes, and to what extent we like or don't like that. I think it ultimately culminated in Capture the Flag, which was fantastic. It's probably the best stretch of episodes the show has had. So it, like, regardless of whether the normal episode, whether you preferred that or a normal Craig episode, it certainly got there, and like, it was like really good. But it's like, we just did that. We just did like Craig does really big plot. I feel like that's done. Let's focus back in on kind of what makes Craig of the Creek like essential. What are the essential components of Craig of the Creek? So I was wondering what the main plotline would be now, and I really do like that it's just like a vehicle to do more exploring, because I think that's like the best part of Craig. Doesn't mean we can't do a plot thing can't eventually happen again. And like, this is plot, but it's not like, conflict. It's not a conflict driven plot. It's not bad feelings, or stressfulness in any capacity.
There's tiny conflicts, like challenging a chef who's holding onto a square. We'll like soon find out the other old guards who are still holding on to those pieces and need to be coerced into giving them up. We'll have those tiny things still around.
Yeah, within an episode, a conflict, generally like less stressful than a big war happening, even if it's a pretend LARPy war. This being, eventually maybe we can get into some plot, but for now, like, we have the whole other side of the creek to explore. We have new people, new characters to meet.
A lot of new characters.
Old characters that we're really kind of just seeing for the first time in any sort of extensive capacity. So I love this as a starting point for maybe era 2 of Craig of the Creek. Do we think this is, I think we're getting into the second summer on the show. I'm actually not. Do you know what time period these episodes take place in? We're past the winter and the spring, I think.
I think we've had 2 winters at least, right? So maybe it is summer 2.
We had a long winter in season 3. I know that for sure.
Was that the first winter? I feel like
I don't know if I can't remember.
I might have to go back and check. Yeah,
because the episode where Bernard is like driving them in the snow, is that the same winter? Or is that a separate winter?
That might be a separate one.
Yeah, it's a little vague what's going on. But anyway, probably we're starting a new summer. If not now, this might be late spring, might be summer, like whatever. We're starting a new summer, new time period on Craig. Michelle, yeah, do you think this is era 2 of Craig of the Creek? Not to be too Steven University.
I think it is, and one thing I did start to notice season 4, Craig's spending a lot more time with other characters. He's not spending like every episode with JP and Kelsey. And a lot of times, like even if JP and Kelsey are there, they'll kind of like sit back and Craig will go and like do more stuff, which honestly I'm really happy about. Like I love JP and Kelsey. They add so much to the crew dynamic between the three. But like we talked a lot in the first season, especially about how Craig didn't seem to like, you know, not that he didn't do as much, but he didn't have like as strong a personality as the other two. And we didn't really have much of a read on him. I think now I have a much stronger read on Craig because he's doing a lot more. And I'm glad that he's spending more time with other characters because he is the main character. Even if this show is so ensemble, I mean, it's probably one of the most ensemble shows we have at this point. But that's like a pretty in-your-face difference, I'd say, right off the bat. And that seems to indicate that, you know, dynamics between them are also changing. He didn't tell them about the wedding with Sewer Queen.
Yeah, true. That's true about that episode. I think this is a continuation. We haven't had time. We didn't do many podcasts during season 3. Just alluded to it, I think, in the intro segment. So we haven't gotten into this too much. But I think this is a continuation, exactly what you mentioned, of a thing from season 3 that they're kind of like. I guess this is like a fully fleshed out thing now. Craig being with other characters that are not just the Stump Kids, for sure. Yeah. Most notably in season 3, the Ice Pop Trio, with Cannonball and Sparkle Cadet. That was a recurring thing during season 3. Absolutely agree. It's a concerted effort by the show to flesh out Craig outside of his main group. He is now way past, at this point, we're in season 4, we're like several years into the show, way past the kind of main characteritis-y kind of main character from season 1. Craig, one of the best characters on TV now, in large part due to him interacting with many other types of kids. And we definitely see that continued here into these episodes. And it kind of like it allows Craig to have his own stuff going on, also allows kind of like Kelsey to have her own stuff going on, like in Fire and Ice. So I think it's a great balance of dynamics with all these characters all around. Alex, enjoying next era of Craig?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the biggest benefit to it is like, using Craig to get to see a lot of other new characters. I feel like Craig's character has. I mean, I would agree that it's definitely developed since season 1, but I also think it's kind of it's pretty solidified at this point. Like it's not like he's changing that much necessarily. You're just seeing a lot more of him. But also I would. Kelsey getting her own episodes. I mean, her episode is probably the highlight of this bunch to me. I can't imagine in this like cartoon. The show has always been cartoony, but in this cartoonier era, a JP episode again. I wonder like how far they're gonna stretch that this time around, given the JP episodes we've gotten in the past. Like I remember the Big Pinchy still haunts me.
Big Pinchy.
Go.
So like if they already did that, like imagine them like being like, you can go even further and looser, like really go all out with JP. But so yeah, there's as this show like keeps going on and like their cast is so large, so they can give pretty much anyone if they gave every single person an episode, that alone would like stretch an entire season. It's like getting to Adventure Time levels, and like Adventure Time like made it work because they had so many interesting characters. And I think Craig of the Creek similarly like has that opportunity now to like really spread it around.
Yeah, I like the Adventure Time comparison for Craig. I feel like we haven't talked about that enough. But yeah, no, as the show already had a ton of characters. As we continue to add in characters, I mean, what's going to happen here? I think it'd be interesting to see how the show manages it. Yeah, we are probably due a JP episode, right? Speaking of Big Pinchy, I don't think we really have a big JP episode in this batch. So that's a prediction for coming up here. I was about to move on to Omar, but last thought on the cubes. I liked what something Michelle said earlier about like connecting it to how the creek used to be kind of before the reign of the king. So I wonder if like through these cubes we're gonna like explore, like I'm like, what is the heart of the forest gonna unlock, like, you know? So maybe it'll be something that connects us to the past. I feel like that's going to be pretty interesting too. Maybe that'll be our once we unlock that, get to be our next plot line.
And you know, that's what I'm thinking. Oh, go ahead, Alex.
Well, I was going to say, like, Omar mentioned stuff like the cues were only given to the people that the original king trusted. So, like, we have to think, like, they're probably going to run into, like, people who knew the older version of the creek. And so, like, getting a little, like, they've always sprinkled in creek history with the older kids that have wandered in. So getting more of that will definitely be a nice treat as they encounter people who knew the older regime.
Where's Maya? What did we do with Maya at the end of last season?
I mean, I feel like she's going to come back, but, you know, the way things kind of went down, she's going to take her time because she had the most to lose. She was the second in command of the old regime, so she's a lot of probably shame about what happened, and it's hard to rekindle stuff.
Yeah, Omar Maya reconciliation would be nice.
Yeah, I think we talked about that. Yeah, that's now transitioning to the Omar being part of the main group. That's got to be an arc for him eventually. Is Maya coming back into the picture? Can see a multi-episode arc with them. But so Green Poncho Omar, into my mind, he's still Green Poncho. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's disrespectful.
To move on from being Green Poncho.
I know. I want to
like,
respect his wishes, but it's
Green Poncho for so long.
It's too iconic of a name. I feel.
Yeah. I think he can do both. He can bring out the Omar when he needs to, but then he can bring back the Green Poncho for when it's relevant, like a quest or something.
Oh,
that cool girl with purple hair and glasses, she wasn't the Green Poncho forever, was she?
It's more of a title.
But she stopped hanging out at the creek. That's completely different.
Yeah,
that's
true.
She
went
still
to
there.
high school.
Anyway, so Omar is officially a stump kid now, according to the premiere. This is something we saw coming from the promotional material. But that being said, he's only in one other episode, right? After the premiere?
Well, he's only in the one other episode that they're looking for a cube.
Yeah.
So he's a quest buddy.
Yeah, I wonder if they only include him in the episodes where cubes are involved.
Right. So the new plot episode is an episode where there's a cube piece involved, and that means Omar's there. Otherwise, he doesn't have to be there. It does seem like that's the dynamic we're striking so far in season 4.
I would agree. Yeah.
What do you think of that, Michelle?
I mean, I think it makes sense. Omar's friendly with Craig in the crew, but they're not super close. And a lot of their relationship has been around circumstantial things. Like they both wanted to protect the creek. They both were fearful of the other side. They fought together in battle. It sounds so dramatic, but they did. So, I mean, I don't know if Omar honestly knows how to like hang out with them without something more important going on. I mean, I would love to see an episode of Craig trying that. Like, hey, like, do you want to come over? Why? Is like, so, did you find another cube? No. Do you want to play like Power Punchers or something? Do you want to just like hang out? Like, that would be really fun. But I think like Omar's just not used to that being their dynamic. And plus, like, does he have any friends besides Maya that he was just like had a normal friendship with? Maybe that could be part of it too.
Yeah.
He's just out of practice.
Yeah. Reintegrate Omar. Alex?
He did mention his in-law or his brother-in-law or something. So maybe he's got a good close friendship there. I think sprinkling in Omar to start. I mean, again, these seasons are so long, right? So like even if he shows up in like 10 episodes, but that's still like a decent amount to pop up in. But I think that developing his relationship with the main crew is also an opportunity there to like as they hang out more, they'll grow closer and maybe hang out outside of quest stuff. So yeah, I think that to start off with the it's fine, and there's room there if they want to include him more. But like also I like his personality right now is just so it's still introverted, so it also makes sense that he'd kind of like keep his distance for now.
Yeah, I think it makes sense in terms of his character. In terms of Omar as a stump kid, I feel like I need to be convinced. I like him. I like the idea of Omar as part of the main crew, but the Stump Kids, it's such an iconic group. It's so it's a trio. We're gonna bring him in here. You gotta sell me on it, show. And he's only been in 2 episodes with them so far.
Sounding very gatekeepy right now.
I kind of get
I am gatekeeping the Stump Kids, absolutely.
Part of Omar's intrigue is his mystique. If we get rid of the mystique and make him just a regular Stump Kid, does that take away a big part of the Omar appeal? Maybe. I think that's a valid point so far.
No,
maybe
that's good. He's very mysterious.
Yeah, he's very mysterious. I want to take that away from him?
Well, spinning that, maybe that's how he moves away from the green poncho identity and just becomes Omar, becomes his own person. If we get to know
not
more
being
about
mysterious?
Exactly. The green poncho is mysterious.
I think you gotta lose it to a certain extent, because the big thing is I need to see him interacting more with the trio. It can be during the Cube episodes. I don't think that. It's not like those are so plot heavy. The cooking episodes, not so plot heavy, different than other ones. But it doesn't really matter. I just want to see him hang out, and we need to see more of it. I feel like, for it to feel more of a natural dynamic over time.
Well, and even the cooking episode, he shows a little bit more personality than he has in the past. He's crying while eating the sandwich. We haven't seen that kind of emotional burst.
Yeah, that's a good start.
That's a first step.
Okay, that's true. Yeah, I think I'm joking, but I think it's going to be a slow. They're going for kind of a slower integration here, in terms of him and the Stump Kids. So I think it'll feel more natural over time. I do think you probably can't just have him during the specific Cube episodes. We have to see how the show handles that. We don't have a large sample size so far. I do really like the idea here. I was thinking of who he's the 4th Stump Kid. Who are the other contenders? It's he's there for a plot reason, but it's I feel like Kit would be the natural.
For a while,
Kit or Sparkle Cadet, maybe. I feel like she's had a fair amount of
she's
episodes
around a
with
lot.
Craig. Yeah.
For a while, Bobby was making a run.
Bobby was, we were talking about Bobby as I think I said on previous podcasts. Let Bobby join the Stump Kids already.
No,
and in this batch, he's non-existent.
No, they specifically just they were built. They're we did too much Bobby. Let's chill out for a second.
Now there's no Bobby. Either there's an abundance or there's nothing.
That's the thing. They really have so many characters. And they're introducing even more. Because Bobby was making a break from being this joke character to a legitimate major secondary character. Now he's back to in the background here. We're trying to promote Omar. We had a thing there's not a lot of kid in these episodes, right? So I don't know. It's the who's important to the show kind of comes and goes. I agree. Sparkle Cadet continues to be prominent. She wasn't an original character for the show. Cannonball, did we see a lot of Cannonball here? I feel like he was a big character for a while.
He was a big character last season. Maybe we're just waiting till the Cannonball.
I'm a little worried those roller skaters are going to take the 10 speeds place.
10 speeds, they're important.
Honestly, they're so cool. I fell in love with them. They look so fun.
I'm also really on board with the roller skaters.
They're really cool. I hope we see more.
Yeah. So we're gonna have to see how Omar, what's coming with Omar here. But we can continue talking about him. And speaking of the rollerblade kids, let's go through. Let's say what episodes were your favorites here, and any kind of aspects in particular you really liked of them. Michelle, which are your favorites?
This is hard because there's 2 I want to give an honorable mention to, but I think the 3 I liked the most were honestly the last 3. Better Than You, The Dream Team, and Fire and Ice, obviously, just because they're all so good and they're so funny and they have just this energy, especially the Dream Team and Better Than You. I can't imagine that the boarders working on it didn't have the time of their lives, because there's so much in there that feels both personal but also just oh my god, so good. But my honorable mentions would be Sink or Swim Team and the Chef's Challenge, because those were very fun also.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of them. Alex, what are your favorites?
I think Fire and Ice, which we'll talk about more, is definitely my top. But then, like below that, I have the tier of Sink or Swim Team, Quick Name, and Chef's Challenge. I think that those three were like especially fun for me. I think Sewer Queen has obviously been a fave of mine since like the season one. So like getting to see her a different side of her. In general, when we see like families of the kids, like I feel like that's a lot rarer than seeing new kids. So like seeing the family side and how Craig and Eileen, we figure out her name is Eileen.
Alex, we have to
Like,
dig in here for a second on Sink or Swim Team because
okay,
I think you are the number one sewer queen stan in the entire world.
Wow.
There's not a lot of competition.
Not a lot of competition,
okay.
but
I'll take it. I really do like sewer queen. So
you must. What was your react? Walk us through your reaction
Yeah,
to Sink or Swim
like
Team.
on cloud 9 when you
Yeah.
found out what this was going to be about.
I was pretty excited because like we always get her like in her queen her queen role within the forest. So like finally like seeing her like in normal kid mode, like we get to see Craig and JP and Kelsey in that mode, and then like see how different they are when they're in the creek. So like finally getting to see that for Sewer Queen was an interesting balance, and also like. The fact that she's part of a Filipino family as a personal connection. I mean, Latin American and Filipino have a lot of similarities in their culture. Well, obviously there's a lot of differences too. But like I did also like feel some kind of like kinship in terms of like the idea of like a grandma that like speaks the other language, so you have to like but they know enough to understand you, and like introducing new people, and like the cooking the communal cooking aspect of it. So there was like stuff that I personally related to in terms of like family stuff, and then of just in general like the her and Craig like bluffing very hard like that. I thought that their chemistry there was pretty good, and the family's reaction to it was also just like perfect, and so yeah, like just all together, like it was a very fun episode for a character that I didn't think would get this focus ever, because like at the end of the day, as much as I liked her, like she showed up like twice a season maybe, and like always like in Creek stories, so like getting to see her in a different setting was very fun.
Yeah, definitely. Well, what do you think of her name being Eileen?
I think it's fine. I don't
It's
know.
a nice name. Her
Come
sister
on,
calls her
Eileen.
I, which is super cute.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, Eileen's mom being voiced by Dee Dee Magno Hall is a nice treat. So we've got Pearl, and I think Michaela Dietz has been in this show, so we just need to find Estelle. And the detail, they speak Bisaya, and like Tagalog is the language I normally associate with the Philippines. So like having a different language represented is also nice. And the fact that they give the grandma lines without any like adding of subtitles is pretty cool. Yeah, so there's just a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of reaction on Twitter to the Filipino representation. Definitely seems like it meant a lot to people. So I think really great job by the show in this one.
And like as a connection, like Quick Name and Chef's Challenge, I think also like demonstrate like just how international the show is in terms of their representation. Like we get Kunsup as the Blur, like just going by his actual name, and then Tien Lam and Chef's Challenge, and like he's talking about all the different dishes that he wants to try out. So that part always warms my heart to like see, like to think about, like children should be exposed to like stuff all around the world, and not just like the very restrictive American perspective on things. So the fact that we're bringing in a lot of different cultures into this show, like that's part of what makes this so fun. And like part of the benefit of having such a large cast that you can have that wide of a net to dig into.
Yeah, that's a great point with those two characters. Prominently featured and said names that aren't like white names, like traditional white names. So I think and that's like pretty rare, I think, on kid shows. So it was like pretty great by the show to highlight that. And yeah, I mean, Craig's diversity and many different types of people being represented more so than ever, always been really high. I think these episodes are more wonderful perspectives being shown. We're going to get into Fire and Ice as a kind of another landmark kind of queer episode for the show. But in addition to everything else the show is showcasing here as well.
Yeah, just one quick thing I want to run by you guys. Kunsup is basically Toman with more awareness, right? Like that's the parallel.
God.
I was so happy to see
They have
Toman
a similar
back.
kind of bro energy for sure. But yeah, Kunsup has much more awareness of, I mean, once Craig told him like, hey, like that nickname hurt my feelings, he tried like his best to fix that, even though it didn't go according to plan.
Yeah, I appreciated that. Like, it's like, yeah, like people who have that kind of like over the top energy, but like they're also capable of being understanding. It's like I like that kind of personality being included in this.
Yeah, love seeing Kunsup and ProZD more from his character. Toman. Anyway, I love Toman. That's all I was gonna say.
Toman is
I think
iconic.
he's one of a kind. I think
He's
Toman's
so
one of a
fun.
kind. Okay. Toman should be the fourth Stump Kid. That's my take.
I thought you were going to say he should be the new antagonist, and I was prepared to agree.
I'd be so happy with that, just because there'd be so much Toman. But no, he's too sweet to be the antagonist, as we all know. Anyway, there's really a lot of characters here. I forgot about some of these other inclusions. My favorites are Fire and Ice, and Beyond the Overpass was my other favorite. I think this was a wonderful premiere. I was really impressed by how much that episode accomplished, introducing the new status quo and having a plot line for Craig, and bringing Omar into the group, and detailing the new plot going on. We meet the Rollerblade kids, as we mentioned, who I was also pretty quickly loved.
So cool.
And I'm definitely they have such striking designs. I'm
yes,
definitely
their
expecting
designs
them
are
to.
so good.
I was almost a little surprised that they didn't come back immediately in one of these 8 episodes. But I mean, so many mouths to feed in Craig.
So many mouths to feed. It's true though.
Main rollerblade girl. I looked at her name in the credits, but I forgot it. All right. I think she feels like she's gonna be a big secondary character. I don't know if it's there's a lot of them, but it feels like it. I thought that was a really impressive season premiere, just in general of television. But yeah, all these episodes are great. I agree. Dream Team I felt very like a surrealist to me, that episode.
Oh my god, I loved it so much. It was so funny. I know, because Twitter's been, as we mentioned before, loving Craig at the Creek recently, and it's no surprise why. But on top of everyone gushing about Sink or Swim Team, everyone also really likes the moment when they're discussing making their comic, and Bryson tells Craig to try to draw more inside the lines, and Craig very calmly but a little passive aggressively is like, hey, I don't tell you how to write, don't tell me how to color. And Bryson's like, I'm just saying, man. And then we do this slow zoom in on Craig, and he smiles dead-eyed and does this slow blink. You can just tell there's murder there in his eyes. It's so funny.
Murder from these children.
There's also the gag in that episode. I think they do it twice, where they're crawling on the walls like Spider-Man or something. I think Craig even shoots webs out of his really, go this is a cartoon. Let's just do whatever we want, sort of thing.
Plus, it's a very thing kids their age group would do, which I think is really cute. Plus, the grandpa, basically making the cat his baby child was an interesting development. I actually really enjoyed. I was like, aw, they're being kind of empty nesters. What
do you mean you actually enjoyed that? Obviously you enjoyed that.
Well, first I was I thought he didn't like the cat, but now he's such bros with the cat that he adopted it as a child, and he at one point I swear he put a bonnet or a bib on the cat and put it in a high chair and was feeding it hot dogs or so. I swear this happened, and I don't know why.
Corn dogs probably.
Yeah, the corn. That was so, and that's what I mean by I feel like a lot of these episodes have such special attention to detail about oh, I grew up with this, so I want to put this in here. And it comes across so well, because when the kids are at the store and they just choose a random thing, let's be honest, they chose a random thing that they saw and they wanted. And grandma's well, look, this is not an economical decision. If we just buy this, there's like 72 corn dogs in here. And then she just makes them commit to eating it every day. And we see them get like more and more sick of it, but they can't say no to grandma because they promised her that they would do it. And that stuff is like so relatable and it's so good.
Yeah. Really, really funny episode. I agree. And what was that? The other thing I was going to highlight, it's Better Than You. Other than the drawing stuff and Squash and all great.
Gosh,
I just want to talk about the Honeysuckle Rangers role in
yeah.
these episodes. Pretty consistent. They must have been in like at least 3 of the episodes here. They're strong kind of backgrounds, prominent force here. And I love the Honeysuckle Rangers. So glad to see them in this new world order where they're not as oppressed by the king, and they get to be more of themselves. And they like own a bar, basically, right? Like,
yeah, they own a candy bar, which I think is a very interesting solution to because Kit has the trading tree, and we don't want that to be a conflict of interest. So making it like a bar is enough of a difference, I think, that they don't have to be in the competing market. There's enough for both of them to coexist as business people, which is nice.
Yeah, that's a good point comparing it to Kid. They're obviously so cute in this, and I loved how these episodes presented them. I loved just them as like a constant kind of recurring background presence. At the same time, seeing Fire and Ice, and
you can tell. Yeah, when are they going to be official?
I know.
You can tell how they feel about each other. It's so obvious at this point.
Yeah, and I like on one hand, I love how the show handles them because that was one of my main takeaways from watching all like these 8 episodes back to back was just like I love their role in so many episodes and they're so great in so many episodes. It's like one of the main things I loved. So I'm fine with them being like how they are, but also it's just so the desire to see them get the Kelsey Stacks treatment, I think is large because especially considering they're like the main / only kind of queer male representation in Craig, compared to their like wonderfully like several
it's
queer
like
women.
three couples of queer women at least so far.
Like literally 6 like queer, like that's pretty remarkable. It's never happened before in any of these shows. A lot of them are like minor presences, but until now, it just the temptation to have some sort of equal kind of representation there, and they would be the ones to get it. So I'm torn. I'm like, I want them to have a bigger role, but I also love the role they have now. Interested to see how the show handles it moving forward.
I think there could be a very easy way for them to handle that. I mean, they could just have like Raj pull Craig aside for an episode and be like, I want to get something special for my boo. Like, can you help me pick out the perfect gift? Because like, I don't know if they're officially dating, but like it's highly possible they are. So just making a whole episode some way about like the fact that they're in a relationship without it feeling like obvious. I think that could work really well.
Yeah, I guess like you do one episode, right? And you give them their Fire and Ice, and
so, like,
you make it explicit, and then they can go back to their role.
Yeah. Which I feel like it's what it's gonna be like for Kelsey and Stacks, right? I mean, they're just
honestly,
in the background, just like writing more stories together.
The only thing though is that Kelsey's a main character, so it's like, is this gonna come? So we'll get back to that in a second. That's kind of the only thing. But yeah, for the most part, when a element or character of a show gets an episode to themselves, like it's not like they're gonna be a constant presence throughout the whole show. Even this is like the Omar joins the crew season. He was in 2 out of 8 episodes, right? So it's not like anything can be really consistent.
Again, these are all very spread out. There's too many people.
Yeah.
More people.
I do think it would be a valid criticism if someone wanted to say there are too many characters on Craig. I think the show handles it great, so I'm fine with it. But I think, it certainly would be understandable if someone's like, can we get this more focused? But, we'll see. Cause
that person doesn't like fun if they want.
More characters equals more fun. That's what I've learned from Young Justice. Yeah. So there you go. This is probably the second most characters to Young Justice. I'll say that. Anyway, anything else?
Is that show fun?
Absolutely. I have fun with it.
It's exciting. That's kind of fun.
Any other, things before we get into Fire and Ice?
I just want to say I really love the Squashinator, and I was really scared of her in the finale of Capture the Flag. So I'm really glad that she got an episode that we could kind of feel out where she's coming from a little bit more. And I love just like all the gags when they'd be drawing stuff. Like when she messed up her second drawing and she tried to erase it, but there wasn't a eraser. So she just made a big like rip in the paper. And everyone like roasted her, and they're like, "Oh, like, you made Craig look terrible." And then Craig's like, "My mouth doesn't look like that." And they drew it like so jagged, and it was amazing. Like there were so many jokes like that just took it like to the next level, and it works so well. I really hope they keep that momentum.
Yeah. That's very, very good. So, related, not the same, but my last topic was many people talking about how meta these episodes were.
They were very meta, but it works. I mean, like, we haven't even said that the Chef's Challenge is basically Gordon Ramsay.
Yes, that's
And
true.
then at the end, the kid loses his British accent, and it just makes it 10 times funnier.
Yeah, that was really good. Yeah, that's like Dirt with his British accent. I think over half these episodes had meta jokes in them, like explicitly meta jokes. So I love them, but similar to how in the past I asked, is Craig too weeb? Which, by the way, since I've asked, they've cooled down on the weeb stuff. So I'm not saying I did that, but is Craig the Creek too meta now? Was this too much or was it great? What do we think?
It's fine.
It's great.
Like you said, it's like one joke in an episode, and like for a stretch, because I don't think every episode had a meta joke, but like there was a decent amount, and you know, it's fun. It's your 4 seasons in, you get to reference things every once.
Right, I think that's the key. We're 4 seasons in now. That's why they're doing this now. They for showing its first season's not going to be super meta unless like that's like the point, but. Craig's like this established show. Yeah, I think probably we just got a higher concentration of it now, but I don't know. I love it. If there's a meta joke every episode, I would be fine with it because obviously, like, we're the target audience for that. So
yes, it's finally our time. Move over, boomers.
Move over, boomers.
No, I'm very happy. I grew up with all these dumb references I didn't understand. And just barely in the last like 3 or 4 years, I've started to understand the references. And I know it's our time now, and I'm excited. After like 7 years, I think I'll be pretty done with it, though. And unfortunately, it's gonna last for like 25 years. That's the sad thing about.
Are you saying are we the parents they hide in
yes,
jokes for
we
now?
are the parents. Yes,
oh, no.
it is.
Yeah.
Scary, but it's true. It's us. You're welcome. Here it is.
That's depressing.
Like, are the kids of today really like hooting and hollering for Slide the Ferret Sonic jokes? Like, I don't know.
I mean, Sonic's in theaters though, so that I mean, maybe they are.
Sonic's
right?
hot again. Yeah, I guess so. I think, but I mean, I think the that's a good point about Slide. I think that's not like a target at us specifically, but it's kind of half that. But then when Craig says detect AU fanfic, Slide the Ferret,
right?
That's more of an us targeted, which I loved. So that's not even a meta joke. So it's like meta jokes. Then there's like older targeted jokes too. There's like I guess a lot of both. So we love to see it. We'll revisit this, but I'm hoping to see more meta stuff.
How many kids are getting Kitchen Nightmares references?
Or whatever.
I think
else
everyone
of his
like
shows.
knows who Gordon Ramsay is in terms of just like him being an icon. Maybe not specifically through. There's Kitchen Nightmares.
They just know there's a mad British man who screams at people for cookies.
It's all of his shows, right? It's not just that one.
I thought he was like most known for Hell's Kitchen. Is that not true?
Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah.
There's a recent Twitch trends where streamers are streaming Kitchen Nightmares and just watching it.
That's why that's on my brain. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so Kitchen Nightmares is hot right now. Okay. Anyway. I don't know if that was the case when they made this, so it's good timing. But Gordon Ramsay's always relevant.
Future.
Yeah, always. Okay. Let's talk about Fire and Ice.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking, I was going to say this earlier. We get Eileen. Is Stax, I assume, is not Stax's real name. Never thought about that one, huh?
You never thought her real name was Stax? She's called Stax because of stacking books in the library.
Right.
Yeah, but that's her name until the show is. No, I recognize this, but it was more prominent to me when I saw Sewer Queen actually get a name. I'm like, wow, we're just giving out names now.
We're just giving out names.
Where's Stax? She's the love interest now of one of our main characters.
Do you think we're gonna have an ep where Kelsey like has to meet her parents, and then she learns her real
Ooh.
name, and she like
Ooh,
treasures
the
it, and like
parents.
writes down in her journal or
Oh.
something.
That's a good.
I don't know where this came from. The wiki has her listed as Isabella.
Oh, they might have said that. Yeah, I was going to ask if we've heard.
Ooh.
Yeah, that
It's
might
a
have
nice
been in a
name.
previous episode. Yeah, maybe in some of the Wilderness stuff. I think it's ringing a bell. There are a lot of episodes of Craig now. I was going to say this at some point.
Yeah.
I've probably forgotten
Yes.
a lot of stuff. Anyway, we have our big Kelsey Stacks culmination. Let's talk about this first.
Yeah,
So
can
coming
we talk
into
about this pairing, did any of us see it coming? In all honesty,
Yeah.
so coming into this episode. Correct me if I'm wrong.
though, that's what I'm asking. Over Wilderness, did we see this?
Right. So last time was the last time we checked in on this, the texting episode where the text bubbles came up on the screen. I just remember for that with the emojis.
I feel like they've probably interacted in the library, but it's never been a whole episode worth of plot.
Yeah, that might have been the last major. But in that,
Yeah.
the status quo there was love triangle. Stacks has a crush on Kelsey.
Yeah,
Kelsey has a crush on Wildernessa.
exactly.
So what changed from now to then to now? That's what I want to
changed is
know.
We were wrong.
What changed is that Wildernessa is very aloof and barely hangs out with the kids, whereas she hangs out a lot in the library with Stacks. So obviously you get closer to
time.
someone
Stacks
who you weren't
is the
able to spend
obvious-
time with.
Alex is bringing logic into this.
That's the analysis
Even though
we
love
come
is
here for.
illogical. Wildernessa has so much. Wildernessa has the same kind of mystique as Green Poncho. How could you not fall for that?
That's the difference between having a crush and being alone, right?
That was
Okay.
Kelsey's first crush. But now this is a real relationship at 8 years old or
man.
whatever. Yeah.
I mean, they did also start like pivoting Wildernessa since last season to liking Craig, so that would have been
So
easy.
that's the other main development.
Yeah.
Is that the ice episode? We had
Maybe the
Wildernessa
writing
likes
was on
Craig.
the wall.
But it's like we got okay. Kelsey likes Wildernessa. Then next there's an episode where Wildernessa likes Craig. But it's not like anything happened. It's just like
That's
we just
true.
got presented with those facts. You know.
That is true.
So
Do we think Craig has told Kelsey about any of this?
No, but he also I don't think he does.
Craig
He know
know?
Wilderness. Yeah. I don't think he freaking knows. He's Craig. He's
dumb, yeah.
he's a prepubescent kid.
Yeah,
He doesn't know anyone likes him. How would he deal with that? Maybe he'd run away like Kelsey literally did in her episode.
Yeah. Okay, well, regardless, we're at a point now where we start the episode and Kelsey is like blushing back at Stacks. By the way, this episode it's really out of nowhere because this is the sequel to a season 1 episode. Like I checked on
that long ago.
Really?
The book club. This is the book club sequel. That was season 1, episode 29. Like,
Did we not reference the book club at any time in the last 2 seasons, though?
I mean, we were in the library, but like this is a separate kind of thing. It's like they brought this back. It's not really a sequel. It's more just they revived it, the concept of it.
I mean, I didn't remember it. It's like, yeah, it would make sense that they have a book club.
They made a whole. It was a whole deal, and like getting JP and Craig to do it first, they were like reluctant, and now they got like Sparkle Cadet in there and that paintball guy.
Yeah.
And a lot of kids.
Clearly, the book club's
expanded.
evolved because Sparkle Cadet's there and she didn't exist in season 1. So yeah, it's
yeah.
This has been happening off screen the whole time. The book club, and yeah, but we start off and they're blushing at each other while telling their story. So that's kind of like okay, we're
That's
introduced to the
tell.
status quo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a pretty big tell. We start off in a different animation kind of style with the like fake anime style of
This
the fire.
looks so
and ice.
good.
I don't know if it's anime. Well, the swords seem kind of anime, but it just seems like a more detailed style.
Craig's
less
version of
cartoony.
anime, you know, but it's a different style. It's cool.
Good. Like if we had a whole show that looked like that was just as gay, can you imagine?
Mhm.
Oh my god, it was so good. I want more. It looks so good. I really hope we get more in that style, even if it's just like 2 minutes of actual animation.
Yeah, I was impressed by they went back to it twice after. It was kind of like 2 minutes of the episode overall. Like that, I like how they committed to it so much.
It's really pretty.
That'd be cool if this was like the Kelsey Stacks ship thing, is you go to this style and then you explore their feelings through them writing their story and their characters interacting, which is kind of the shtick of this episode, of course. But it'd be cool if we went back to that again. But yeah, we get them as Fire and Ice, and that's like their OCs. And this episode's pretty ridiculous. It's wonderful. I think this is like one of the best episodes of Craig. So I will say, but it is also ridiculous because it's like Kelsey is like, processing her feelings through, like being embarrassed that her OC is her and coming to terms with that. It's pretty great. It feels very Craig.
I feel for her. That's terrifying. The idea that like you didn't consider something so obvious that your friends point out in real time, and like they don't realize how embarrassed it makes you. Like she had the most gay panic thing I've ever seen, and that's saying something. Like legit, just like how much she started blushing and then just like running away, not telling anyone anything, just getting out of there because it was too much to handle.
Yeah, that's pretty great. She just runs away. And she is at home. One of my other favorite parts, she does the narration, which they, original gag from the show, original Kelsey thing. It's very sporadic at this point, but we get her saying through her kind of narration where Kelsey and Stacks like Fire and Ice. Would that be okay? Like one of the most serious uses of that device ever. And I thought that was really fantastic. Her questioning if these feelings she has are okay, and that transitions into after talking to her friends and them kind of not being sufficient in this area
because they're all like the same age. None of them know.
Yeah, even if it wasn't gay, they still wouldn't be. Yeah, they wouldn't be helpful in any romance.
Stop self-inserting your OCs into my family.
Yeah.
Yeah, JP adds Craig and JP, air and dirt. So this became Avatar. They wanted to make it.
Yeah. I love that he says dirt and not earth. It's just so perfect for JP to go there.
Yeah. And I love the Cockney accent or whatever. Like I love that too. Yeah. JP's still so wonderfully random, 4 seasons into the show. But they say Kelsey needs to talk to someone who knows more about this kind of stuff. And it's like through the lens of helping with her writing, right? It's
fantastic use of double meaning.
I like that the scene and transitioning from this with, Craig and JP, it starts off as like a metaphor, because this is and it's like this is how this stuff is traditionally handled on kids TV, so we're used to it being a metaphor, but it makes sense for them because they're kids, and she's also having trouble processing it, and it makes sense for her and then Kat to approach it this way with her. But I do think it transitions away from a metaphor during this conversation with Kat and Laura.
I would argue it's not a metaphor before then, because like one of the things that felt really not like, they went there, but like kind of a little bit still, is when she's having the internal monologue and she's looking at the book covers, right? And she sees like the princess lady hugging the knight, and then you see like in her mind it's like her being the knight and Stacks like hugging her. Like that's a very strong romantic visual representation that they just like committed to. So I think like that should clue anyone watching in about what Kelsey's feeling like without any ambiguity at all. And I was like honestly pleasantly surprised that they even did that.
Yeah, it's a good point that it's only, and when I say it's a metaphor in terms of like how Kelsey's processing her feelings, but traditionally in these types of episodes, the whole thing would be a metaphor. Like, like the audience it would be a metaphor to the audience, but we're clued in very quickly. They're blushing right away in this episode. The cover, that's a great point. She says, where Kelsey and Stacks like Fire and Ice, would that be okay? I mean, it's pretty clear she's dealing with feelings and the feelings of her characters. I mean, earlier, Sparkle Cadet's like, oh, it's so romantic.
Yeah.
So the episode is kind of like wonderfully transparent about it, while still kind of dealing it with in a way, treating it realistically in a way like kids would be able to process this. And so yeah, Kat is helping Kelsey as a professional writer.
And also Kat helped JP with his story. He has a little line about that after he talks. Yes. He's like, oh, endings are so hard. I had my sister's girlfriend help with this. So it isn't even it isn't like, oh, like we picked Kat because Kelsey, we think you might be gay. It's like, oh no, she already helped me with my story, so she can probably help you with yours.
That's really well seated earlier in the episode when JP. But the question is, how much is JP thinking that maybe Kelsey could have the help of her, of his older sister who's gay, versus he's just genuinely like, oh, writer, she's a writer, you know, like, does JP, how much is he aware of what's going on here?
Well, I think he also knows, like, that person's dating his sister and they're, like, older and more mature. So if it also happens to be relationship involved, they would know more than him or Craig. On some level, I think he gets that.
Yeah, I think so too. I think on some level, which is kind of JP's whole character.
Yeah.
He's like, he's really silly, but he's really aware of things, and really smart. See, I feel like JP is like, I think he's a little bit aware of it and being super great. And yeah, this conversation. So then the whole conversation, this is the show doing something we've talked about several times in this podcast before, which is like, I think one of our favorite queer storytelling devices, which is a younger queer person consulting with an older a queer person who's had more experiences and asking them like what it's like and just generally helping them sort through their feelings. I remember Bloom Into You, the anime, had an episode, with basically this almost exact same thing, and it was so wonderful. Love seeing it pop up here in Craig, and it's so perfect for someone as young as Kelsey. And yeah, Michelle, what parts of the scene stand out to you?
I mean, like, I was gonna ask you guys, but like, did anyone like tear up at all during like the Kat and Kelsey exchange? Because I just like, I don't know, we've seen Kat before, but I feel like this is the most we've ever spent with her character. But she does such a good job of being very, like, gentle, but also, like, giving Kelsey the green light to feel her feelings and feel very supported. And just, like, this is very natural. And, like, why not just embrace it? Like, there's nothing wrong here. And it was so good. It was so well handled. And the dialogue was so good. Like, it was just, it was pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I will say I didn't go until like the final shot, but during this Cat discussion, I did. There's a specific line where I think it's very direct, but she goes like, "Writing is vulnerable," like,
yeah,
and it's kind of like laying out like this is why you feel this way because like you're exploring things you never thought about yourself through fiction, and like that's like doing that for the first time. Like I think we all relate in some form or another. Like the first time that something like opens up to you, it's like, oh, this is possible. Like I can allow myself to think like that. Like that's a big moment, and sometimes a moment that causes a lot of internal turmoil. So, but like having like thinking about like the comforting presence of somebody, you know, like letting you know like that's a natural response to things like that felt very nice to like witness that. That kind of dialogue happen compared to like a lot of us who have to, you know, figure that out on our own sometimes.
Yeah. I thought it was all really beautifully presented. The last line from Kat, this story is a part of you. You shouldn't hold back any beautiful part of yourself.
I was like, dang, JP's sister better like marry this woman because she is literally the best.
It was so good, yeah. And the whole like we start off in like the feeling her out, and in terms of it being writing, is this about feelings? We get Kelsey panicking again.
Yeah, she's like, what if it seems like, you know, it's us? And then like Kat's just like, well, what if it is? That's fine.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't tell her like, oh, well, like you should hide it or something. She's like, that's normal. I mean, you're writing from experience, and that's what you should do. You should write what you know.
Yeah, and I think Kelsey maybe just needed to hear some sort of validation or permission to feel what she feels. Like it was very brief and an overview. Like all it took was kind of what we saw in the scene, and how much exposure does she have to? Even though, you know, today's kids, I think, get to see a lot more of queer representation and stuff. And Kelsey, it's still a thing where she has this crisis of her feelings, and processing it in some capacity, I think, with Kat here was a really perfect way to approach it. I love that they let her kind of feel those like panicking feelings here again after before. In general, when shows do this, I usually like feel some sort of secondhand embarrassment. I feel like I'm like, it's like it's drawn out. Like,
if they draw it out, if this had been like, oh, does Stax like me? I don't know. Like, what if she rejects me? Like, no, like Stax just likes her. She really likes her.
Yeah.
She's calling her up. She's like, I hope we can work on more stories together. There's no ambiguity there.
Yeah,
that it will be reciprocated.
The show just let her feel what she felt, and then it like pretty quickly moved on. And I love that it let her feel this way, and it continued on the story, and it like moves fast, but it's all within, you know, the 11-minute Craig format. But it covers so much ground in such a wonderful way, and we get them finishing their story. That's how it's framed with. I love that the conclusion to their dumb story is they cut the dragon in half.
It's like, that's not the important part here.
That's but it's like, this is they're like children writing a fantasy thing. This is a Kelsey style thing. But then at the end, yes, Kelsey, they're presenting it in the book club, and Kelsey says to Stax, "I like you." She's like blushing behind her book, and Stax says, "You're the girl I long for by my side." What kind of line is that?
They're repeating the line from the story.
Kelsey wrote that in the.
Did Kelsey write it?
Yeah, Kelsey wrote it, but like Stax has like I don't know. The like bravery to like say it to her face, which like
Stax is very brave this episode.
Yeah, very brave.
Yeah. No, very, very, they're going to be kind of insufferable if they're a couple together all the time.
No!
Wow.
Stax is shy. I think it's going to be fine.
If they're just saying fantasy lines at each other, that would be that's like the worst.
They're both huge nerds. That's true.
Yeah, that's my point. But I think they can. I think this is just because it was after the story. I think they can probably restrain themselves. But and then they hold hands. Yes, and that's the culmination. And it's interesting because this is a show where we have seen the witches kiss in a past episode, but almost this handhold feels like even bigger.
I mean, I felt the same like when when Lumity became canon, like when they held hands, because it just like it's very symbolic, and I feel like a kiss is nice because it signifies like we are romantically like attracted to each other, but a handhold feels more like a commitment. Like this could be a long-term thing that we figure out together, and in a way that like does something else for you. I think to see it, it's just as intimate. It's just different.
Yeah, I thought it was presented that way, and of course they're like really young, so I think this is
right.
It's a great way, and
they'll get to the smooching in like middle school.
Oh wow!
I will say there's also something to the shot of them holding hands, and then like in the background,
nobody
like,
notices.
All their friends are there. They're doing their own thing, but all their friends are there. So like it's also like the fact that it's like happening in public, like simultaneously as other things are happening. That felt like an added detail to me that I appreciated. Like like all our we're in like a safe space here. Like it's fine.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and they all seem so accepting earlier when they're considering it being romantic.
Like they thought it was a nice thing. It's just that like Kelsey needed time to process it herself, but I think everyone else was on board.
Yeah, definitely. So what's next for Kelsey and Stax? Is Kelsey going to introduce Stax as them dating at some point?
I want to see them go on a date, because I think Kelsey would be a disaster on a date in a really fun way. Like she might get too in her head and be like, it has to be perfect, and then it just becomes like a hot mess. And then Stax is obviously like, no, like I just want to spend time with you. Like I don't care about all the other stuff. I think it could be really cute. I want them to go on a real date.
Okay. Yes.
There was one episode, right, where like they brought Stax out of the library to do a quest.
That was with Wildernessa.
That was with Wildernessa, right? So like we could try that again, but this time just Kelsey and Stax. Like for whatever reason, there's like some mission that Kelsey is on, and she wants to bring Stax this time. I don't know.
Yeah, Stax going with them on some sort of dumb stump kid adventure.
Dumb stump kid adventure.
Is that not a summary of the show?
Oh, maybe they need to get a cube from some kid who knows a lot about books, and she has to come along to bring her expertise. Sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I like the suggestion before meeting Stax's family. Will Kelsey keep calling her Stax? That's an important question.
No.
Is that her preferred name, or is that her LARPing name? Is she in on the pretend? Because she's just in the library.
I'm sure she is. I don't think you can opt out of the pretend if you're under the age of 13. in this universe.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're all just collectively doing it. Yeah. So, this is down the line, but I think eventually Wildernessa comes back in the picture, and then Stack says to like Kelsey, what do you think? Are we past this?
We can dream. We can dream.
Pencil that in for season 5. Let's come back to that one after we've like gone on a date with them or something later down the line. I think that'd be great. Will we eventually get the Kelsey Stacks Wildernessa Craig double date?
Oh God, that's gonna be such a mess. Craig's not gonna know he's on the date.
Yeah, Craig won't know.
Right?
Yeah,
he won't know what it means.
That'd be so good.
JP and Maney too. Let's bring them in.
JP and Maney.
Yeah. Triple date.
Yeah, I could see just a JP Maney Kelsey Stacks, like them looking to JP and Maney for like how to be a couple.
Oh, I would love that. That would also be like really ridiculous.
Do we have to pretend to be horses?
Yeah, do we have to be horses to be in love? Do we have to like share an apple with our mouths because we have hooves?
Gosh. Yeah. I think we gotta bring horse girls back into the picture. I think they're briefly in the first episode, but yeah, oh god, I think we got to see some of these double dates going on. I think we gotta do this. Also, I mean, they're gonna follow up on Craig and Wilderness at some point, right? Like that is not just gonna be one off, but as we've seen from the fact that they brought the book club back 3 seasons later, they don't always approach things right.
They got time.
We have time.
Okay. Any other fire and ice comments?
This is kind of like I don't know. I really appreciate that the episode was like kind of subtle but still intentional about treating Kelsey's like first big romantic crush as like with some of the nuance of it being a queer relationship, but also not so fixated on that it didn't also register as a very like natural, like anyone having a crush and like having a meltdown over it kind of way. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like they found that balance really well, because things like her asking like, is this okay? I mean, yeah, you could read this like, oh, we're friends, is it okay? But I think like it's pretty clear that the is it okay is because it's just not as normalized a relationship. And like the fact that she does, kind of talk through this with other queer women. They could have been anyone who were in a relationship and mature, but like the fact that they were queer, I think is important, even if it's never directly spoken by the character. So I really appreciate how they kind of found that balance between showing that like sometimes it is harder when you have these feelings and you want to be with people and it's not heterosexual, and that comes with its own kind of, you have to maneuver certain things you don't necessarily do in a straight relationship, but also that it's still completely normal. And in some ways, everyone goes through very similar emotional roller coasters. So I really appreciate the team for being able to balance those priorities, because I imagine it's not easy to do.
Yeah, I completely agree with all that. I thought it was like explicit while still being true to them being children, and still being true to like it being Craig of the Creek and a kid's show. It felt like the really perfect balance. I agree. Other fire and ice. Okay. So
I'll just briefly say the paintball kid. I think this is his only main contribution to these episodes.
I thought we were done with him.
He gave a pretty good episode. I'll throw that out there.
Well, I'll say his story seemed kind of fine. Like I was impressed that he had writing skill. So good for him.
This is one of his better appearances, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Less conflict in this appearance.
I think he's probably in the first book club. I think that's why he's here. But I can't remember. Okay. I was gonna open up to talking about season 3. I think we have a little bit already. But I don't know if we want to hit on any other topics from the previous season. It's definitely notable how long we went through winter and then the big capture the flag arc. I thought. Yeah, Alex.
Well, I just want to mention the Bernard Jessica Winter episode that was right before, I guess it's December that it came out. But I had not seen that episode, so I watched that with this batch, and that was again very cartoony. Like Bernard is just like
Love
going over the
Bernard.
top of his reactions.
So good.
Jessica has some great lines. It's just like I threw it up there on the roof.
They like threw it the whole card.
Yeah. So I thought that like if we were asking about favorites from this entire batch and we could include that, I think that would also be up there because I had a lot of fun with that episode.
Yeah, Locked Out Cold that aired in December. I agree, and that's also the only Jessica, right, that we got here.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And Bernard.
Only Bernard, but Bernard, he doesn't have. In general, he's been kind of sparse in this show.
And
for a while,
he's going to be more sparse because he's like touring colleges now.
Yeah, that was pretty notable.
Which is huge. Like
big plot development.
How is the family going to deal with not having Bernard in the house anymore?
Touring colleges, even though his mom just wants him to go to Howard.
I think he probably is going to go to Howard. I don't think he has a choice. I think it's just going to happen. You got to keep it in the family.
Yeah, I agree, though, that Locked Out Cold was great, and Legends of the Library also. I think those are technically season 4 episodes, and they're probably, I don't know if they're meant to air first or later, but yeah, also good stuff from those.
That had some Stax Kelsey interaction for a brief moment.
Oh, yeah, Stax is in there. Yeah, that's true. I don't know if there's any, and we had Laura at the end.
They were like, she was holding Kelsey back she was holding her hands, technically, so.
You
know. Oh, okay. I haven't seen it in a while, so, okay, that's good. Good build up there. Okay. Yeah. Michelle, anything from season 3 you want to highlight?
It's such a blur.
Yeah.
But it was a good blur. I remember really liking the family camping episode and the family beach episode. I thought those were really fun. I just like seeing Crick hang out with his family because their dynamic is so different than just like the stump kids hanging out. And Bernard is still my favorite, so it's always nice to see him, even though he's not there all the time. God, what else happened in season 3? I feel like a lot of stuff.
Capture the flag comments.
I mean that was really fun. I mean, oh God,
we got the return of Deltron, which was highly anticipated in the last episode. I think
we got the guy who did Deltron to do all the VO tags for the promos we made for the Capture the Flag arc. I do remember that, and he was really fun to work with. And I think we've worked with him since then, so maybe he will be our staple go-to guy for a while. I don't know, but maybe he will. He was great though. The arc was great. I mean, like I think that's the first time we've had an arc like that, and it was very eventful. It was very action-packed. Had good song in it. I mean, a lot happened.
Was it in Capture the Flag that we figured out that the original Green Poncho's name was Michelle?
Oh, Michelle.
Oh yeah. I think it was from the yes.
Yeah. So your thoughts?
I forgot that was her name.
I forgot that
but
too.
That's nice.
Michelle representation. Okay.
No Dylans or Alexes yet in this show.
Alex,
there must be an Alex. There's
sure
one of these kids
an
has to be
Alex
named
somewhere.
Alex. I bet we're forgetting people too. I can't. We need to at some point review this.
There's Alexis.
There is Alexis.
Yeah.
Was
it where was she was somewhere right?
Bernard and Alexis are like a
package deal.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. Package deal.
Bernard and that Craig is like, ooh, you got a girlfriend. Bernard is like, yes, that's well established.
Yeah, it's well established since the first episode. Since the pilot, it's been well established.
Okay,
that was a great joke.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, they're doing like musical chairs in that winter episode.
Oh yeah. And Jessica goes really hard on it, but then she wins. So I mean, good job, Jessica.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the news then that we just got from Craig of the Creek.
Speaking of Jessica.
Speaking
of Jessica, we have season 4 just started, but we got word that Craig was renewed for season 5. And we knew about Jessica's show from an earlier announcement, but we got Jessica's Big Little World coming. We can talk about that. And then the can assume maybe a season 5, but it's certainly not a guarantee in today's kind of animation landscape. But we get a Craig movie is coming.
Woo!
Yes, that was big news.
I was shocked. I was like, whoa. Because I don't know.
When you heard about this months ago?
I heard about this not that long, maybe like a month ago. But because like we're in season 4, it felt like soon for a movie, but also like, yeah, maybe they're going to do season 5 first. But I mean, it's great news. And maybe we'll have multiple movies. Who knows? Craig could have a very long legacy.
Yeah, so Craig the Creek, the movie, is an origin story of the Creek's bravest explorer that could only be told through the scope of a movie. I don't know about
that's what they say about it. I didn't even know the tagline.
Craig Williams is the shy new kid in town. Yeah.
Oh my god! So we can see him meet JP and Kelsey.
Yeah, that's what we're doing in the movie.
That's gonna be so. Oh, what if they have like really like baby voices though? Because Philip Solomon like doesn't sound like he did in season 1. That's gonna be interesting. Are they gonna put
pitch
like
up his voice a lot?
I wonder.
Treasure maps, pirate ships, and a villain who wants to destroy the creek are just the beginning in this treasure hunting epic.
There's always a villain trying to
ships.
destroy the creek, isn't there? It's always got to be somebody.
Is it there? Not anymore with the king gone. Is this the king that we're talking about? Is this someone else? That's kind of interesting.
Well, Craig didn't know who the king was until
so it's got to be someone else.
Yeah, probably. Season 5 debut early next year. Okay, that's good.
That's really exciting.
And then here's a quote. We could not, for a Cartoon Network exec, we cannot ask for a better foundation as we expand the stories of the Creek into preschool and long-form projects, ensuring that Craig the Creek is well on its way to becoming our studio's next big kids franchise. Which seems, considering you're greenlighting a season 5 in a movie, seems like this is like kind of Cartoon Network's tentpole show right now to some extent. It's unclear what goes on HBO Max, what goes on Cartoon Network. Even in this announcement, I don't think they committed to what's airing where. But it's, I think, really wonderful and smart for Cartoon Network to double down on Craig, which is one of the best animated shows on TV and one of the most important shows. And really heartening that we're getting more of Craig and not just, there's a lot of good shows, but, we're not just doing Baby Craig, and not that We Baby Bears is probably not great too, but, is the Jessica show count as baby version of Craig? I don't know if that's
Jessica's so like mature, honestly. I'm really curious what that show's gonna look like, because from what I remember about Jessica, she's like interested in the stock market and has like a very like, she likes to like keep a good schedule, but she still also likes like oh god, I'm trying to remember her plushie's name. Is it Small Urkel?
Small friend?
Small uncle.
Small uncle. Okay.
So like she does still like kids stuff, but I feel like it's gonna be like Jessica's a very specific kind of character, so I feel like they're gonna play with that a lot too.
Yeah, I think that's what's most interesting to me about the Jessica spinoff is it's being billed as a pre-K show. But Jessica's the whole like shtick of her character is that she's like more mature than her young age.
So that could be really fun.
Yeah, I think that could be really fun. It feels conflicting a little bit, but that could be in a wonderful way. Because that's my initial reaction. Is like a Jessica show, I'm on board, but it's pre-K. I'm sure there's wonderful pre-K animation. We've never really talked about any of it on this podcast. There's like we kind of like treat there as being a line between pre-K and like Craig like Y7 type shows, as like Y7 these types of shows are ones adults can appreciate. Pre-K ones are ones we don't touch as much. So and maybe it's just a bias of mine, but it being much younger presented, that's potentially a hurdle. But again, it's kind of interesting because Jessica is this like mature child. Maybe we'll have a lot of meta jokes about it being a pre-K show, like Craig.
The demographic wouldn't understand that at all, but the parents watching might.
Yeah,
that's true.
Could see a lot of that.
Also, we're shouting out that it's going to be a show run by Tiffany Ford, who
yes!
I believe is a Black woman, and Black women showrunners are in animation, especially, are very, very rare. So, congratulations to that.
Yeah, she's been a director on Craig, and
she was on Steven too. Not sure if she was boarding. She might have been backgrounds or character design. I forget, but I've known her work since Steven, so she's been doing stuff for a while.
Yeah, nice. So very, very happy to see that. A lot of people on the Craig crew who you could see getting big promotion or getting like shows at some point in the future. But also wonderful to see. I mean, another thing in terms of being the new era of Craig, Jeff Trammell, head writer, is at some point leaving.
Right.
I think he already left.
He's left
Yeah.
in real life. In his name is still in the credits of these episodes.
Oh, he's left.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah, so I don't know where that transitioning's happening, but that's like a big departure for the show. So, and maybe a part of the era too of Craig at some point. I don't know, but still, in general, the show's had like a very consistent crew. I think since the beginning, which has been pretty wonderful to see. Any comments on the news we've been talking about?
Well, with Jessica's Big Little World, like I'm in a similar boat where like I'm excited by the concept of it, and I do want to see, like, despite how they're describing it as like aimed at even younger audience, but like I am interested in checking it out just because Jessica on Craig of the Creek is such a fun character. The promo image has Small Uncle sentient. And like this
He's sentient? Oh my god, it's gonna be amazing.
It has a face. Let me put the picture here in the chat here.
Is that real or is this her imagination?
Well, I think it's her imagination,
Ooh,
obviously.
Oh, he is sentient. Look at him.
But like there's also this like woman in like a really cool outfit.
Yeah,
that I
who's
want to
this
know
lady
more
with the
about.
glasses?
Yeah, so like I'll watch just to figure out who she is.
Could that be like her persona of herself as an adult or something?
Ooh.
I don't know, because they both have like poofy ponytails.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I like that theory.
And like Bernard and her parents are back there, so like if they get like little cameos in the show, like that'll be nice to see.
That'll be nice.
They show up,
Yeah.
So I'm excited for season 5 of Craig of the Creek. That's fine. We already talked about. That's why I'm like Jessica's Big Little World is like an interesting idea to me that I want to think more about.
I'm honestly the most hype about Jessica's Big Little World. It was like one of the things they threw out there when Cartoonito was getting off the ground.
Right.
And I'm really happy this is one of the ones that they actually are 100% committed to. And it doesn't surprise me at all, given Craig has been a top priority show for us for at least like the past 3 years, if not longer. Which is saying a lot because we still rely very heavily on Teen Titans Go and like Gumball. And Gumball hasn't aired a new episode in over a year. So for Craig to have that placement, I think is very well deserved. And I think the momentum internally to promote Craig is only growing stronger with every year. So I do wonder like how many seasons they want to do, because they honestly might be able to do as many as they want, because Craig just has this perfect blend of, I think, what the network's looking for right now. And it's just very good timing. I'm really happy, especially because there are like so many good shows we've seen that are relatively short-lived, either by choice, because they're more narratively focused, or because they're getting canceled. And that's absolutely not a problem Craig, I don't think, is ever going to have for cartoon. And that's kind of wonderful, That's like one glimmer of a bright spot in a world where not everyone gets as much show as they want.
Oh, I completely agree. How many shows on this podcast do we talk about that do not get as many episodes as Craig has or is going to get, and answer every single one, right? Like this is, except for but it's and even like Summer Camp Island, we know is going to end soon. But that at least has gotten a lot of episodes. It's very heartening to hear that Cartoon Network's gonna keep doing Craig for as long as they would want to, and it's like totally the right decision. Like it's like it is the perfect show for right now and for them, and it's great because it happens to be just like very, very high quality, fantastic show. And yeah, this is totally like a bright spot amongst hearing a lot of shows are ending, so that's really good. Any other comments on the news, Michelle? Any final comments to wrap up here?
I'm excited to see more.
Any vague hints about future episodes?
honestly, like I've only seen maybe 3 more. They're still working on them. They're not all done. So I think whenever like the next plan is to drop a batch, which I cannot confirm, there will probably be more ingested into our system. But yeah, I mean, if they've already said that season 5 is going to come out next year.
Yes, that would mean we have to air like 30 more episodes this year.
All of season 4 this year, which is already fantastic. I mean, you know, we've talked before about shows that have like these really lengthy times between seasons. Like Stephen Bombs were like probably the most like stressful example of this. And it seems like Craig's going to be pretty consistent, so that's really nice too.
Yeah, I will say Cartoon Network's only the past 2 years only aired Craig like January to like end of summer and then taking a break. Still much better than like every other show, but it's interesting. We'll see if that's continued this year. Alex, comments to wrap up here.
Yeah, I'll wait for the Summer of Craig part redux. They did that already, right? Where they just like spammed like a full season of episodes in like a month in the summertime. I sort of remember that, but I get as we talked about. There's a lot to look forward to. I think we've covered everything with the batch of episodes. One final gag is that kid with the ring shirt keep getting mistaken for Zero. That's again Sonic.
Yeah, was that kid coming back?
You're already brought him back twice. It's more than most of the new characters.
Yeah, it's a joke that I guess people will keep making because people don't know what rings are in this universe. Maybe, so yeah, I feel bad for that kid.
Okay, we feel bad for that kid.
Maybe he's the new Bobby.
What if he's the next villain? They keep making fun of. Keep not knowing what his shirt is.
I mean, now that cardboard's been completely like revitalized in the cardboard community, I guess we do need someone to step up.
Cardboard community.
Yeah,
we step up in the dramatic role. Yeah. Love to see Carter in the premiere again. By the way.
Yeah, he seems to be doing well. I'm less scared of him now than I've ever been. So that's
good. I'm just happy he's a part of the regular rotation. He's earned it. He's earned it.
What is the regular that's
a fake concept.
Appears once every 15 episodes. Is that regular rotation?
I would say someone who appears as much as like Wildernessa or Kit is.
Wilderness hasn't been there in a while.
Or like
either,
Jason,
honestly.
Yeah, but we haven't seen him in a while either.
Jason,
I like Carter was in the end of Capture the Flag and he's in the premiere, so I think that's I feel like that's like a sign of a character who's in the mix. But that being said, there were probably I don't think Wildernessa was, and she'll be here at some point. Yeah. Okay. So it is interesting to track all these characters. We'll see the other champions at some point too. I assume soon. The other Kings champions. We saw 2 out of 4.
I think there are 5.
5,
counting Maya. I guess. Are we gonna get a Maya episode?
Yeah, that's true. We have to do all the others and then.
I would love to do Maya. Oh God.
Okay. So
she's so cool.
Exciting. That's pretty hype. So there you go. A lot of fun, as we covered with the news, a lot of fun Craig coming up, and it was very exciting to see the beginning of season 4 and to talk about Craig again here. So let us know what you guys thought of everything we talked about. Anywhere you're listening to the podcast, you can leave a comment, and you can check out the other podcasts we have going on at overlyanimated.com. Subscribe to not miss any future podcasts coming up, and you can consider supporting us via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Needle, and thanks to our patron executive producers, Steve, Michael, and Phoenician. That is it for Craig of the Creek. Thank you guys very much for listening. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.